What is going on, everybody? So today in this video we're going to be talking about Cabarete Dominican Republic. What you need to know before you go to live or to visit Cabarete. Now before we start the video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you want to keep seeing more videos like this one. It'll definitely help the channel out. Now if you're looking to get more personalized tips and information regarding Cabarete or DR or other countries that I've been to that you've seen on my channel, or if you just want to pick my brain regarding what I know about certain countries, traveling abroad, living abroad, residency options for you, I do personalized consultations, and in that consultation we can talk about your situation, what you're looking to accomplish, and just talk about anything you want to know regarding traveling abroad. If you're thinking about booking a consultation, the link is in the video description below. Last year I lived in Cabarete, Dominican Republic for 2 months exactly. Last year, 2022. I had an apartment that I furnished myself, so I was definitely really living in Cabarete, even though it was for a short amount of time. I definitely got acclimated to the lifestyle and the climate of living in Cabarete. So Cabarete is 20 minutes from the main town of Sosua. If you've heard of Sosua, it's a 20-minute drive from there, and it's an hour drive from Puerto Plata. So I personally feel that Cabarete is a hidden gem in regards to beach towns in Dominican Republic. I feel like it's not as well known as Puerto Plata or Sosua, and probably not as populated with tourists. But yeah, it's generally like it's a tourist town and it has a tourist feel to it, but it's not like overcrowded with tourists, you know. It's not a place that people normally go to. It's not a go-to spot for beach tourism compared to the other beach towns in Dominican Republic. It is very well known for kite surfing. I don't kite surf. I don't know much about kite surfing, but I know it's a big spot for that. So Cabarete is basically a one-way street that stretches through the entire town. It's a pretty small beach town. Yeah, it's a nice beach town, not a lot of tourists. Got a lot of things to do, nice beaches, good food. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I definitely think it's underrated in regarding beach towns in the Dominican Republic. Living there 2 months for me, I picked up on a lot of things that would greatly help people if it's their first time visiting Cabarete or if they're contemplating living in Cabarete. So that's why I made this video. So on to the tips. So the top thing I think you should know before coming to Cabarete is you will need some form of transportation. It is not a walkable beach town. You can walk the entire strip, but it's gonna be very long, and especially if you need to go back and forth to places that you frequent, it's not feasible to keep walking. Most people that come to visit or stay, they rent a scooter or a motorcycle from one of the various places that, you know, rent motorcycles, or they may find a friend or someone that knows someone that's renting motorcycles and do it that way to get a better price. There is no Uber or rideshare apps in Cabarete. There is Uber in Puerto Plata. I'm not sure about Sosua. You can't use Uber to get around like you would in another place in Dominican Republic. I did attempt to use Uber a couple of times, and it did pop up and show me prices and stuff like that, but I never actually, you know, pressed accept and accepted the ride and see what would happen. So maybe Uber is out there now, I'm not sure, but as of last year, like September last year, Uber was not a thing. Or Uber wasn't working for me. But if you get an accommodation that's centrally located in town and it's near wherever you need to go, then yeah, you may not need a scooter. Taxis are another big option to get around town. You see them all the time going up and down the street. Some of them are marked as taxis, some of them are colored orange. Most of the taxis that you will see are carpool taxis. So, and another word for carpool in Dominican Republic, especially in Cabarete, is guagua. You going to take the guagua, and that's carpool. So they have carpool vans, and then they have carpool taxis. So, for instance, if you hop in a taxi that's empty, be prepared to be in a taxi with a bunch of other people that you don't know, because that taxi will keep making stops and filling up the car to extreme capacity where you just squished with people you never met. So that's the reality of taking carpool taxis. The carpool vans are have more space. They seem to be more organized in regards to just stuffing people in there. But the taxis, they'll put like 7, 8 people in the taxis, like on top of each other, like just to, you know, get everybody in there before they drop them off. But if you happen to find a taxi that is literally just a one person kind of taxi, or however many people you got in your group. Make sure if they're cool people and you like their vibe, try to get their number, try to conversate with them a little and let them know you'll be here for a certain amount of time and you may want to call them for more taxi services. That's a good way to get like a private driver informally, and I've done that myself and it has worked and it has helped, especially when you're on a time limit and you got to get somewhere, instead of just hailing a taxi on the street, which could either be filled with people or you may be waiting to find like the private taxis. You just call up your friend you met and they'll pick you up. Keep the spatial issue in mind when taking taxis and guaguas, because they're carpools and they don't care about any health risk or breathing on people and stuff like that. So if you're concerned about that and you don't want to be skin to skin with strangers, keep that in mind and try your best to find a private taxi that's reliable. And the prices generally range depending on how far you're going from where they picked you up at. Average price I was paying for guaguas was like 50 pesos, 60 pesos, or less. Now, if you're paying for a private taxi instead of the carpool taxi, it can definitely get more expensive. Like if you're going from, let's say, somewhere in Cabarete to Sosua, it could be like 600 pesos, 500 pesos. And as I said before, Cabarete is a one street kind of town. Like the one main strip street is where all the businesses are, and where it's where everything is going on. But if you want to explore more of Cabarete, you got to get off the main street and go into the side roads and the residential neighborhoods if you want to explore more. But definitely be aware of where you're going. From what I learned in terms of grocery stores, people watching this video that's been to Cabarete or that's living there or have lived there can correct me on this one, but it seems like the main grocery store in Cabarete is called Janet's. That's where most of the foreigners go to buy groceries. Even the locals I see in there buying groceries. Yeah, Janet's supermarket. The prices seem to be a little high compared to other grocery stores I've been in Dominican Republic and Cabarete, and I believe it's because they cater more to foreigners, and they think foreigners have more money to spend on food, so just got higher prices. There's another better price supermarket. It's closer to Sosua though. It's like right before you get to Sosua. It's called Super Polo, and it's a pretty decent size supermarket. It's bigger than Janet's and has a better selection than Janet's. So if you're looking to find more products, I recommend Super Polo at a probably slightly better price point. And Janet's was just kind of whack regarding produce. Cabarete is expensive regarding food, groceries, eating out, things of that nature compared to Santo Domingo. So I know more about Santo Domingo. I've been there for a few months also, so I can speak on Santo Domingo. I was paying a lot more to eat out for food and stuff than I was in Santo Domingo. Dominican Republic in general is more expensive than other Latin American countries. So keep that in mind. If you're comparing price points of how much you're going to be spending, DR is not the cheapest, but it is cheaper than what you may know in the United States or other Western countries. I would say also Cabarete is a nice family-friendly environment. If you're coming here with your family, your kids, you wanna experience the beaches, the waters, the nice weather with your family, I definitely recommend Cabarete compared to its neighbor Sosua, which is the complete opposite, known for prostitution. Come to Cabarete if you're trying to get that kind of vibe with your family and friends. So in terms of the language barrier, most establishments in Cabarete don't speak English, but some of them do. It's kind of like a 50-50 chance you'll run into some people that can speak basic English and help you out with whatever you're buying or looking for. So I don't think you'll have much of a language barrier issue. It's always great to know some Spanish when you're visiting a Spanish-speaking country, but I think you'll do just fine with completely English. You'll be able to navigate. I think also, and this could apply to the entire country of Dominican Republic, but if you're coming to Cabarete to improve your Spanish and practice with Spanish-speaking people, I think you may run into some difficulties because Spanish in Dominican Republic is, in my opinion, quite different than Spanish in other Spanish-speaking countries. for me, it's harder to comprehend when listening to someone speaking, and they tend to cut words a lot, and the Spanish can vary, vary greatly depending on the neighborhood you're in. So, if you go to the barrios, they could be using a lot of slang that you just don't understand, and be learning Spanish that makes it even difficult. But yeah, if you're coming to practice a little, brush up on your Spanish, you shouldn't have any major issues. But I think it's gonna be a little more difficult. It's not gonna flow as easily to understand them as it would in another Spanish-speaking country. Another major thing that will greatly affect your trip, depending on what accommodation you're staying in, what Airbnb, hotel, is DR, the country of DR, and Cabarete is also included in this, has an issue with power outages. The power is always going out, but it depends on what neighborhood you're living in. And it depends on what kind of electrical setup the accommodation or building that you're staying in has also. I realized most buildings that were well maintained, they had generators. So just in case the power went out in the neighborhood, the generator just cut right on and you wouldn't even realize the power went out. When I had my apartment out there, that place was like always getting power outages. I think I would have a power outage at least once a week, and it would last for like 6 to 7 hours. And you wouldn't even know when it's coming. It just will cut off, and you gotta rearrange your life for the day from there. It's even worse when it cuts off at nighttime, when you're like about to go to sleep, even when you're trying to go to sleep already in bed, and it cuts off, and your AC cuts off too, and your fan, so you just in straight heat. Situations like that too, apart from being in a place that has a generator, make sure you can open your windows in whatever place you're staying in, and those windows have screens, because if they don't, you probably don't want to open the windows because you'll get a bunch of mosquitoes flying in there. But if you do have the screen, at least you got air, so you can manage throughout the power outage. But yeah, that's a big thing I want to get across, is those power outages. Make sure you prepare for that any way you can, because when those things hit, it is not fun. Sometimes you don't even want to go outside. Like most people out here, when they have a power outage, they'll just chill outside. They'll talk to their neighbors and friends. It's just a time to chill outside. But for me, I'm not trying to be chilling outside and fighting mosquitoes, covering my legs, every part of my body. It's just like, it's a war outside with the mosquitoes. So yeah, it's tough when the power outages hit. Yeah, be prepared for the power outages. Find a place that may have a generator, or find out what does your Airbnb or wherever you're staying do when the power outages happen. And bring a portable fan, just like little portable fans if you get online. Those do help in situations like that. Bring a power bank, a portable charger, just to charge a computer or phone if you can't when the power is out, and yeah, you'll be fine. With the power outages also, keep in mind, if you're coming out here to work, let's say you work remotely or you're a digital nomad and you make your money online, keep that in mind, because if the power goes out during the time you really need to use the internet for your job, then that can greatly affect your money. So keep that in mind when you're looking for places also that has generators and things to circumvent the power outages, because you're coming out here to work. That's actually one of the main reasons I wouldn't recommend DR for digital nomads and remote workers, unless you're staying in a neighborhood that has a really good power infrastructure that rarely has power outages, if ever. If you're staying in one of those neighborhoods, then fine. But if you're like rolling the dice, trying out different neighborhoods while you're working online, you might hit some snags, and you might be left without power and without working for a certain amount of time. You may find cheaper places to stay if you're able to network and talk to the locals, or have somebody that knows some locals that they can talk to. Because most locals, well not most, but some locals are willing to rent their empty room or empty apartment to to a foreigner for a certain amount of time, and they'll rent it at a discount compared to how much you'll pay at an Airbnb or a hotel. And of course you cut out those fees if you're renting straight with the owner of the apartment or home. So yeah, you'll find some good deals if you're able to talk to some people and see what's going on. You could potentially rent like a 1-bedroom style apartment for like $250 to $400 per month. If it's a room that you're renting, even cheaper. If the place is not furnished, you'll save even more money. per month, but then you gotta furnish it and buy stuff, but maybe you might want to go that route. If you're planning on furnishing a place or planning on getting some extra furniture for the apartment or home that you're in, the furniture and appliance stores in Cabarete charge you crazy prices. Like, the prices just are ridiculous in my opinion. It's just not worth paying. There's one store I really like in terms of appliances. I bought a stove from there. I bought a gas tank for my stove, and that place was called L&R. They had a location closer to Sosua, but not in Cabarete. So Sosua and Cabarete, like I said, it's like a 20-minute drive between the two. But in between that drive, once you leave Cabarete, it's like a more like a countryside kind of driving where you just see a bunch of trees and stuff. But as you get closer to Sosua, you see more establishments, and L&R was one of those establishments. I think L&R was just right outside of Sosua. So, but it's an appliance store, has good prices that fit, you know, the normal person's budget. Most things that are sold in appliance stores, like stoves and fans, ACs, are imported into the country. So I guess they pass off the importation prices to the customers, but some places just do that way too much and hike up the prices. And you'll see that in Cabarete sometimes. And whatever place you're planning on staying in, also make sure to get a dehumidifier, or ask them if they have a dehumidifier, because it gets kind of sweaty and humid, you know, in these places, especially if you don't have an AC unit and you're just dealing with a fan. At least the dehumidifier can kind of make things a little better, so you're not staying in a super hot, humid room or apartment with a fan. Now, in terms of safety in Cabarete, because of course you want to know that, because you don't want to, you know, be visiting or living in a place you don't feel safe. But I felt pretty safe in Cabarete. I would say the locals here are not as friendly or inviting to foreigners. They kind of act neutral when they see you and not very welcoming, but I've never felt unsafe to where I felt like someone was planning on doing something to me. The further you go off the main strip of Cabarete into the side roads, into the, you know, the real neighborhoods, the safety can vary, but that's why you should know the places you're planning on visiting off the main road before you go there. I've never been robbed or never had anything stolen from me. Never got into any altercations with anyone. It's just a very neutral place when it comes to the locals. If you are a female or a man walking and going to different places with your partner, your girlfriend, you're definitely going to get stared at a lot. You do not have no shame in staring at you or your girlfriend while you're there. Most people in general in Cabarete, and maybe this could be applied to other parts of DR, but most people will stare at you, but they won't say anything to you unless you say something to them. That's why I say it's a very neutral feeling being in Cabarete amongst the natives. Like, they're not welcoming, but they won't make it known that they don't want you there. You know, they won't be unpleasant around you. So keep that in mind. And of course, that's subjective. That's just my experience and a few other people's experience while in Cabarete, but definitely could be different for you in a positive way or a negative way. And yeah, I think that's it. That's the main things I observed and learned when living in Cabarete. I hope after you watching this video, you now are a little bit more prepared to visit there or to live there. And maybe you've seen some videos online, so you already know how Cabarete looks. So now you got some tips on what to do and how to maneuver when you're in Cabarete to help you out even more, to enhance your stay. All right, y'all, that's it for today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.